The latest college football playoff rankings are out, and there's not a bunch of changes inside the top 5/10 because there's not really any reason to change them. There haven't been any ridiculous losses, anything that would make you want to jumble up those top 10 rankings. But I do think that there's one kind of gigantic question that persists when you look at the college football playoff rankings, because when you look at the top 25, and not even the top 25, to tell you the truth, when you look at the top 15, 7 of the top 15 teams in the country are from the SEC. Therefore, I think it's easy to deduce that the College Football Playoff Committee believes that the SEC is the best conference in America. I don't think that that's reading the tea leaves wrong. If you rank 7 of the top 15 teams in the country and they're all from one league, you would think that committee then believes that team, that league, is the best in the country, right? That feels logical. You know what feels illogical? But I think that they believe this. They don't have the balls to say it. I think the committee believes that Alabama is the best team in the SEC and not Texas A&M. I think that's clear at this point, that the committee believes, despite ranking them number 4 and Texas A&M number 3, I think that the College Football Playoff Committee believes that Alabama and not Texas A&M is the best team in the SEC. Because if you believe that the SEC is the best conference in the country, and you also believe that Texas A&M is the best team in the best conference, wouldn't that logically then mean that Texas A&M has to be either the first or second ranked team in the country? You can argue, and I think this is a fair argument, that the best team in the best conference could be the second best team in the country, that they believe that Ohio State is number 1, that it can be an outlier, that there can be somebody who's so good outside of a conference that they don't believe is the best, that you put Ohio State as the number 1 team. But if you believe that the SEC is the best conference in America, doesn't it then have to go that Texas A&M, who conceivably, by their rankings, is the second best, is the best team in the best league, that then has to be number 2, right? And so I wonder, why does the College Football Playoff Committee not like Texas A&M? Why do they not have them ranked above Indiana? Because those 2 schools have the argument for, I think, the best win in college football so far this year. Indiana went to Oregon and won by 2 scores. Texas A&M went to Notre Dame and won a tight game. And by the way they have them ranked, the committee apparently believes the Indiana win at Oregon is a better, more impressive win than A&M's win on the road at Notre Dame. And I don't have big thoughts on that. I'm not going to sit here and dissect whether that's correct or incorrect. But if strength of schedule matters, and it's supposed to matter more in 2025 than it did last year because the SEC didn't get their way, I don't know how you say that Indiana is ranked above Texas A&M. First of all, and this is an observation, it's not a determination. Indiana's non-conference schedule was terrible. They played Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. That is objectively a bad non-conference schedule. Now, A&M has the benefit of, hey, they can pound the table and say, our best win was a non-conference game. We didn't have to schedule a game at Notre Dame, but we did, and we won. So that right there, that fact, despite the fact that they're going to play the Samford Bulldogs in a couple of weeks, which, by the way, the number of teams that have fired their head coaches that A&M has played this year, by the time they get to Samford, that will be 4. They played Auburn, fired their coach. Florida, fired their coach. Arkansas, fired their coach. LSU, fired their coach. Samford, fired their coach. Damn near half their schedule is against teams that fired their coach, which I feel is a bad case to make in the midst of a, strength of schedule. But I digress. Texas A&M's non-conference schedule leaps and bounds better than Indiana's because Texas A&M's non-conference schedule has Notre Dame and Indiana's has Indiana State. Just by definition, A&M's got them on the non-conference strength of schedule, and A&M, not to their fault, their conference schedule, they can't do anything about the fact that LSU hasn't lived up to their end of the bargain, or that Missouri got beat up and now is not nearly as good of a win as it once looked like it was and could potentially still be down the line because the Tigers have fallen out of the top 25, don't have a chance to make a whole lot of noise, despite the fact that a couple of weeks ago, really not all that long ago, I was sitting here telling you, like, hey, 11-1 Missouri is a definite possibility, and now that's fallen by the wayside. But why doesn't the College Football Playoff Committee think that A&M is either the best or the second best team in the country? There are 2 options from where I sit. Tell me if I'm wrong. The first is that the strength of schedule case is that you haven't really played anybody throughout the season, and your best conference game is still yet to come. They still have to play at Texas on Black Friday. I can understand that argument of, hey, and it feels somewhat weird, by the way, that the argument is your strength of schedule stinks. By the way, we believe that you are in the best conference in the country. Weird dichotomy there. So that's option number 1. Option number 1 is that they don't put a lot of respect on Texas A&M's name because their most difficult conference game has not happened yet. And should they beat Texas, and should Texas continue to win, and they're on a collision course to that Black Friday game, it will be a top 6 or 7 win, maybe even a top 5, probably a top 5, because Texas still has to play Georgia. And then I think Arkansas, maybe somewhere in there. If Texas beats Georgia and then continues to win, you're going to be in a situation where the Longhorns are going to be ranked top 5 in the country at that point. And if A&M wins, sure, then the College Football Playoff Committee will sing their good graces. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is, and I think that this is the more likely option, is that the College Football Playoff Committee actually truly believes that Alabama is the best team in the conference, not Texas A&M, and they need to figure out, or not that they need to figure out, they don't have the balls to put a 1-loss SEC team above an undefeated SEC team, which I don't. If you believe that Alabama is better than A&M and you can lay out your case, I have no issue with that. And I don't think other people should have an issue with that. I think that you should be able to articulate the reasons why you feel that you do, other than, well, hell, I mean, look at Alabama. They got better football players than A&M does. Right. And that's the same argument that Lane Kiffin made earlier this week for why A&M should be number 1, is that, well, the NFL, when they are looking for their best prospects, they come to the SEC, therefore we're the best. And like, well, there's also the whole football games that happen, and sometimes your guys aren't the best at that. The idea that we should just take the 12 best recruiting rankings, average from the last 4 or 5 years, coupled with the transfer portal, and then just have a tournament in Vegas for 4 games to decide a national champion is stupid. The games on the field should matter. But if the College Football Playoff Committee thinks that Alabama is better than A&M, lay out that argument. Have a take, don't suck, stick to it. If that's how you feel, tell me why. Let me see your math. Let me see your work. You know, like you're doing math homework when you're in junior high and you get the right answer and the teacher's like, no, you got to show your work. Well, if I get to the right answer, what's it matter? I got to see your work. I got to see your thought process of how you got from this equation to this answer. Show me your work if you believe that Alabama is the best team in the SEC. Because right now, it certainly appears as if the College Football Playoff Committee actually truly believes that Alabama is the best team, and they are just waiting to put them in that number 3 or, frankly, number 2 slot above Indiana, because I have just a hard time believing that when push comes to shove, especially in this week where Indiana had to have a come-from-behind victory against a Penn State squad who now objectively stinks. When Indiana had to make a frantic comeback with a 2-minute drill and the wildest catch you're ever going to see to win, to keep that number 2 spot, I thought for sure that there just might be a twinge that A&M comes off a game beating the tar out of Missouri on the road, their 3rd straight road conference game, that would put them at number 2. Well, why would it not? Why would it not put them at number 2? The options are either the College Football Playoff Committee, frankly, is speaking out of both sides of their mouth, because I don't think it can be both, that they believe that the SEC is the best league in America, and simultaneously that A&M has a strength of schedule problem, because that would be competing ideologies. Or the College Football Playoff Committee believes that Alabama, despite having potentially one of, if not, if you look at the teams in the top 10 who has the worst loss, it's Alabama. And it's the same discussion we had a season ago of why they didn't make college football playoff. Well, you got your ass beat in by an Oklahoma squad that was not very good. And right now, Alabama's got a glaring pockmark on their resume of went to Florida State, got your ass pushed in, and now has looked pretty good ever since then. But I think it's because the College Football Playoff Committee believes that Alabama, not Texas A&M, is the best team in that conference, because it just feels backwards that, well, we believe the SEC is the best league in the country, but A&M's number 3 because they got a strength of schedule problem. Well, hell, brother, if you believe that the SEC is the best league in the country, A&M can't have a strength of schedule problem. I think it's because the College Football Playoff Committee thinks Alabama is the best team in the country. Want to know your thoughts? Not the country, the SEC. I think that they believe Alabama's the second best team in the country. I think they believe that Alabama would mop the floor with Indiana. Ohio State would be a different story. But I'm here to tell you that the second that Indiana loses or A&M loses, they're going to topple. I'm just here. It's not going to be A&M loses to somebody. They fall from 3 to 5. I'm here to tell you that you look through those rankings. Does the College Football Playoff Committee believe that A&M is better than Alabama right now? My answer to that is no. Is A&M's one loss? A&M with one loss, are they ranked above Georgia? My answer to that is no. Texas Tech? Maybe. So, at best, a one-loss A&M is ranked 6th in the college football playoff. That leads me to believe that Alabama, in their eyes, is the best team in the SEC. Want to know your thoughts? Who do you think the best team in that conference is? Why do you think that the college football playoff hasn't propelled Texas A&M above A&M? Let me know your thoughts, your theories in the comments below. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. I appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.